Good evening, and welcome to Riderpiece Theater. Me, Alistair Dayhawk, and tonight, me proud to present Kamen Rider Gacha, episode 21. Man, I feel for Spanner, because how many times did we as an audience have to witness Spanner's parents getting killed off, regardless if it's like a flashback or current day? It's insane. And I understand the master's motives behind those, killings and resurrection and killings, because the goal was to drive Spanner into a point of rage and hatred that he was able to become a soldier of darkness, if you will. And as Weird Sister number 2 puts it, as the master's loyal dog, which ends up backfiring in a major way. So we end up starting the continuation of last week's show. Spanner is really going after the angel malgam, and the writers, they don't know what to do, because they know that if they try to interfere, Spanner's gonna attack them. So Spanner is like, will attack anybody that gets in his way. The angel malgam decides to resurrect Spanner's parents to once again kill him off and drive Spanner deeper and deeper into the darkness. However, it ends up backfiring, because when the angel malgam sends a barrage of feathers, and you see Kudo and Hotaro getting shielded while poor Spanner is taking hits after hits, you see pieces of him just flying off, and one of the pieces happened to come across, Spanner's parents' hands, mainly the dad. The dad picks up the piece, and he looks at his wife, and they knew what they were going to do. They put their hands together with the device, they poured their alchemy into that device, and you see them get destroyed right before everybody's eyes. The angel malgam was very surprised at the fact that they're dead. There's no way they have alchemy, but they somehow, some way use their alchemy and they destroy themselves. And it leaves poor Spanner once again in despair, because he once again sees his parents getting destroyed, and he gingerly goes and picks up his parents' rings, and then he goes on the attack, and the angel malgam yet again tries to resurrect them, but this time it does not work, which causes the malgam to retreat. Spanner is furious that it escaped, and he is throwing a tantrum. And this is where Hotaro did the smart thing and knocks him out. And then we get to the next scene where Spanner's having a nightmare. He wakes up at the restaurant. Hotaro, is offering him a meal, assuming that he's hungry. Spanner's like, "No, I'm leaving. Goodbye. I don't want to eat." And this is where Hotaro is like begging him not to go. And he's like, "You're still you. I know that you said that the Spanner that you knew no longer exists, but I refuse to believe that. So please let your friends help you." Of course, Spanner is not hearing it. And right before he hits the door, Hotaro is like begging him, like, "Spanner, don't go." And then Spanner turns around, grabs Hotaro by the shirt, and just tells him straight up, like, "Dude, this is my fight. Do not interfere. and he just lets go and he leaves. And we get into the alchemy school, where poor weird sister number 2, she gets paranoid. She doesn't like the idea of Spanner being a part of their group, because she believes that the moment Spanner joins, the sisters will no longer be of use to the master. The master will disown them, and she was like, we have to strike before he strikes us. And this is where weird sister number 1, who's being played by a 9-year-old, puts her at her place and refuses to believe the words that came out of weird sister number 2's mouth. And number 3 approaches her and tells her, like, hey, you cannot say those things, because can you imagine if the master overheard what you just said? He will destroy you. And she leaves too, and weird sister number 2 is the last to leave the lab. Only this time she spots Minato Sensei, who apparently overheard the whole thing. Now we get into the next scene, where the Alliance meets with Professor Kyoka, and they offer their services to her to finish Spanner's driver. And of course, the reason why is because, again, Hotaro, after everything that he has been through with this guy, still views Spanner as a friend. He is one of us, and we want to help him. And in order to do that, we have to finish the driver. So they work together day and night, and all the while you see Spanner, living as a hobo for a moment, and he's plotting for revenge, and then he gets a phone call, and then we hit the next day, where the professor tells everybody that, hey, thanks to you guys, the driver is finally finished. And before the heroes get a chance to celebrate, the weird sisters and the angel malgam decides to crash the party. Now, the reason why is, if we get a few scenes back, the master was displeased at the fact that the angel malgam has lost the ability to resurrect Spanner's parents, and now they need to come up with a new plan. And I don't remember who suggested the idea, but I think it was Minato Sensei. I don't remember exactly, but one of them, the master or Minato Sensei, suggested, why not just go after the professor and just kill her right in front of him, and in the hopes that maybe, he will turn fully to the dark side and hopefully joins the master. So that's where we are now, at the office. The villains crash the heroes party. The angel malgam points at the professor like, hey, we have come for you. And the professor was like, yeah, I know why you're here. You're going to use me to get to Spanner, right? You're going to kill me in front of him, right? And Kudo and Hoto's like, nah, it's not going to happen. If you want to get her, you have to go through us. So we have round 2. So the fight is once again outside of the professor's office. Only this time you have the Alliance versus Weird Sisters and the Angel Malgam. And as they're fighting outside of the building, you have the professor and Minato Sensei, and apparently they both, of course, know each other, and they have their talk. And as of right now, we don't know for sure if there's going to be an extended scene between those two. But what I know, what I can recall, is that she was telling Minato Sensei, okay, why are you here? Are you here to kill me? Or are you here to steal the driver? And Minato Sensei answered, well, I'm here to do both, And the scene cuts from there. We have a little bit of the fight between the sisters and the Angel Malgam versus the Alliance. And then we move to Weird Sister number 2, who decides to leave the fight and decides to go to this weird warehouse where we get to see Spanner meeting with Minato Sensei, who apparently it was Minato Sensei who called Spanner to meet up with him. Now, this is where Minato Sensei brings out the driver. And Spanner was like, wait a minute, why do you have that in your hands? Like, what happened to the professor? And Minato Sensei was like, first of all, this item in question belongs to the association. Secondly, I killed the professor because I was ordered to kill her off. And again, poor Spanner, believing that the professor is dead, goes on a yelling match. You see flames, coming off of him, and he transforms into the wheel malgam and goes after Minato Sensei in full-blown rage. And this is where Minato Sensei transforms into Dread, and he's disappointed in him because he's like, look, you're supposed to be a prodigy. Like, why are you letting your rage and the lack of control of your newly acquired power, and you just you're becoming a beast, a raging beast. If you cannot control yourself, then that means I have to put you down. And during that match, I feel like Minato Sensei in his own way is trying to help him, which again, it leaves me to believe that Minato Sensei is a double agent. He's like Professor Snape. He is in league with the heroes, but for right now, he's in league with the villains in order to destroy them from within. Because if he was a full-blown villain, why is he saying these things to his ex-student, whatever? And so Minato Sensei easily defeats Spanner because, when you are in a rage, you lose yourself within your rage and your hatred. You're out of control. You will attack anyone and anything because your brain is on fire. You're angry, and that's how Minato Sensei managed to defeat him. And as he was about to kill him with his sword, the rings that he has in one of his hands activates. And it takes him, Spanner, back 10 years ago, where he gets to relive his memory. And only this time, he gets an extended version of his memory, where we get to see mini Spanner witnessing his parents' death. But this is where we get to hear his parents, giving him their final words, which is, stick to your beliefs, and one day you will become a powerful alchemist. Then the parents just look up and looks at present day Spanner and tells him directly that we love you, and they are killed off. And now Spanner current day Spanner turns around at his past self, and you see him crying, and this is where the professor comes in, comforts him, and we get to see the professor using her ring of power to erase what happened. And now that Spanner remembers, he returns back to the present, and this is where he now is in control of himself, and his parents' rings ends up transferring their powers into Spanner's ring, changing the color from green to purple, and the rings ends up being destroyed. And then the Mad Wheel card comes out, which means Spanner is no longer a malgam, and it transforms from Mad Wheel to Mech Wheel. And then it inserted himself into the sword, which causes the sword to be lit on fire. Now, we have a round 2. And I have to admit, I was very impressed with this match. And the actor who plays Spanner, I have to say, I mean, he's good at swordplay. I can tell that he practiced along with that scene, especially when I'm sure it was scary for him to be fighting with a sword that's on fire. But he did a great job, and he managed to defeat Minato Sensei in his Rider form, and Minato Sensei was in shock to witness that, hey, like, what just happened here? You have gotten more powerful. And Spanner was like, because I'm not alone. And he ends up using his flaming wrench sword, slices Minato Sensei, and he ends up defeating him. And now, after his defeat, he gets the driver back, and then the 3 Kemi cards that were taken from him are now returned, and that's the end of their fight. And all the while, Weird Sister number 2 was witnessing the whole thing, and she didn't do anything to help. Now we get back to the 2 sisters and the Angel Malgam versus the Alliance. And then we have Spanner coming in, and, you know, everyone was like, they stopped, and Spanner just walks in slowly, making an entrance, and he uses the driver, and he uses the cards, and he becomes Kamen Rider Valvadar. I don't know how to pronounce that. So he transforms into a Kamen Rider now. Everybody was in shock, and now that he's a Kamen Rider now, he ends up, you know, fighting the Angel Malgam, only this time he's not a raging maniac, and, you know, he defeats the Angel Malgam, and he captures the Angel Kemi. He has another Kemi card to add to his deck of Kemis, and then we get to see Spanner and his parents one last time, and to see them smile, and just, they didn't have to say anything, which they didn't. It's just going to show that they're proud of their son. You know, they're proud of him, and they go together into the afterlife. And this is where Hotaro jumped the gun. He got super excited of the fact that Spanner is officially a Kamen Rider now, that he assumed that, hey, now that you're a Kamen Rider now, you can fight alongside us, you know? But Spanner's like, nah, no, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry, because like I told you before, this is my fight. I work alone. But for right now, like, yes. But later on into the future, you will eventually join Spanner. In some way, shape, or form, you will be working with them. So that happened. And then we get to the next scene with Minato Sensei, an injured Minato Sensei. And he told Weird Sister number 2, was like, hey, you know, Spanner could have killed me, but he didn't. And number 2 was wondering, like, was this your plan all along? And I think without answering, he replied, like, look, Spanner has overcome his demons, but the nightmare will still continue. So again, it confirms that Minato Sensei is indeed a double agent. Now, I'm not sure what Weird Sister number 2's role is with Minato Sensei, but you can tell that number 2 is like she is worried that she's going to get replaced, and she will rather join Minato Sensei for right now than be at the master's side. At least that's where I'm getting at here. Now we get to the final scene where Spanner returns, and you see the professor just taking a nap. She wakes up to see Spanner, and he didn't apologize for what happened. Instead, he just, hey, you know, I would like to continue our game. And we get flashbacks of the professor with Kid Spanner, and before they get a chance to play chess, she just goes to Spanner's side and be like, hey, before we get to play chess, can you cook for me? I'm starving. And they both smiled, and that's the end of the episode. This is a nice two-parter for Spanner, because in the first half, you can get to see Spanner at the most happiest to the most vulnerable, to this last part where he's finally at peace. He now knows what really happened, and to see his parents one last time in the flashback telling him that, you know, stick with your beliefs and you will be a powerful alchemist, which it did happen. By sticking through his beliefs, he ended up being, you know, one of the best. And now that he has channeled his flame and he's at peace for what happened, he's now a Kamen Rider. And, you know, I'm happy for him. You know, and eventually, you know, he will join the Alliance in some way, shape, or form. Hotaro, again, he jumped the gun way too soon. But at least this time, you know, Spanner didn't look down on him like he usually does. So, yeah. And I think that is it. The suit itself, you know, it's just an improvement of the old one. That's it. And I have there's nothing bad for me to say about it. It's okay. It's really okay. And I just, the last thing before I wrapped out here, it's just I find it strange how, you know, the way Hotaro acted in the beginning, where Spanner woke up and he's like begging Spanner to not go. Like should you be acting that way if Kuro was in Spanner's position? Because I feel like, I don't know, this is a bad example, but I felt like Hotaro was playing the role of Padme and Spanner was playing the role of Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. That's what I was getting at here. But yeah, Hotaro is Hotaro. He easily forgives, so it is what it is, I guess. Well, yeah, that's the end. So please, guys, tell me, have you seen episode 21? And if so, did you like it or did you dislike it? And if I miss anything, please write in the comments below, because even though I have my notes in front of me, I may have missed a couple of things. So please, whether you like the episode, dislike the episode, just write everything in the comments below. Give a like if you like it, and please subscribe. And I will see you all on the other side of Oblivion. Johnny!